"Daddy, why can't I come over anymore?" my daughter asked, and I had no answer. That one question shattered me more than the divorce papers ever did. I still remember the way her voice cracked, trying to sound brave, her little fingers curled tightly around the stuffed fox I gave her on her 5th birthday. We were standing in my driveway. Her mother's SUV idled behind her like some armored threat. "My name is Jack. I'm a father. Used to be a husband too, once upon a time. But now, I'm just a visitor in the lives of my own children. Let me start from the beginning, the real beginning. Because no story like this starts with the court order. It starts with love. Or at least, something we once mistook for it. Claire and I met in college. She was magnetic, sharp, ambitious, beautiful in that steely, intimidating way. I fell hard. We got married young. Had our first child, Lucy, 2 years later. Then came Miles, our second. For a while, it felt like we were building something real. A home. A life. A future. But Claire's ambition turned cold. Somewhere along the way, she started treating life like a competition. And when she couldn't control me anymore, she started trying to erase me. The divorce was brutal. Not just the lawyers and the documents, but the small humiliations, like not being told that Miles had his tonsils out until after the surgery, or that Lucy had won an art contest at school, and I found out from the PDA Facebook page. Still, I fought to stay close. Every weekend visit, every missed call returned. I built bunk beds with my own hands, kept toothbrushes and favorite cereals in stock, bought a car with enough room for their booster seats. I never wanted them to feel like they were visiting me. I wanted them to feel home. But Claire made sure they never did. She started small. "They have too much homework this weekend. Lucy's not feeling well. Miles has a soccer game." Then it became deliberate. Last-minute cancellations. Sudden emergencies. A tone in her voice when she said my name is sharp, dismissive, venom-dressed in civility. I tried talking to her. Reasoning. Pleading. I reminded her that no matter how bitter things got between us, the kids still needed both parents. She said she agreed. She always said the right things, just never did them. Then one day, I got a text from Lucy. Just 4 words. "Am I in trouble?" I called her right away. She didn't pick up. The next day, Claire emailed me formally, like I was some stranger. "Lucy's therapist has recommended a pause in visits to avoid emotional overstimulation." I was stunned. Therapist? Since when? Emotional overstimulation? She loved coming over. She cried every time she had to leave. And now suddenly, she was too overstimulated to see me? I filed a motion in court, demanded clarity, mediation, anything. But Claire came prepared, reports, witnesses, even a child psychologist who'd spoken to Lucy once, under Claire's supervision. They painted a picture of me as unstable, emotionally volatile. The judge, cautious as always in custody cases, ordered a temporary suspension of visits. Pending review. That was 3 months ago. And now, I see them in supervised settings, 1 hour, every other week, in a beige room that smells like disinfectant and regret. Lucy doesn't ask to come over anymore. She just sits quietly, like she's afraid of doing the wrong thing. Miles doesn't hug me when we say goodbye. I keep telling myself they'll see the truth. That one day, they'll look back and realize I never stopped trying. But right now, I'm watching them slip through my fingers. And I don't know how to hold on. But I will. I have to. Because I'm their father. And fathers don't quit. "You said you'd never leave us," Lucy whispered, and I wanted to scream. I didn't. But how do you explain to a 9-year-old that love doesn't always win in court? That Sunday, I sat in the supervised visitation center, same sterile room, same lopsided plastic chairs. Lucy clung to her drawing pad like it was a shield, sketching half-finished trees and clouds that never touched the horizon. Miles tapped a plastic dinosaur against the table in a rhythm I'd come to know too well, anxious, repetitive, displaced. The supervisor, a kind but weary woman named Rena, sat 10 feet away pretending not to listen, clipboard in hand. I hated the clipboard. Every smile I gave, every frown, every sigh, it all got recorded and judged. Even my love for my children felt like it had to be rationed, like too much affection might get flagged as emotionally coercive. I leaned forward, keeping my voice soft. "Hey, Lou, what are you drawing?" She didn't look up, just kept shading her tree. "Just stuff you used to show me your trees," I said, my voice cracking without permission. "Remember? The ones with the purple leaves and the swings that went all the way to the moon." She paused. Her pencil stilled, but she didn't speak. Then Miles, 5 and still brave enough to ask the hard questions, looked up and said, "Mom said we can't trust your house anymore." It hit me like a sucker punch. "Why, buddy?" I asked. My voice was calm, too calm, like it belonged to someone else. "She said you make Lucy cry, that you're sad all the time, that your house is too quiet." I swallowed a scream. Too quiet? I bought a damn karaoke machine for them. I learned how to braid hair from YouTube. I set up scavenger hunts, built Lego castles, even slept on the floor when Miles said the bed was too spooky. Claire's poison wasn't loud. It didn't scream. It whispered, just enough to shift perception, to turn memories into fears. I wasn't the dad who made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs. I was the man whose silence made Lucy cry. I wanted to say everything. That this wasn't about sadness, it was about survival. That their mother was punishing me, not protecting them. But Rena cleared her throat, a gentle warning. Stay neutral. Don't blame the other parent. Instead, I just said, "I miss you guys so much." Lucy finally looked up. Her eyes weren't angry. They were confused, like she didn't know who to believe anymore. And I realized, that's the worst part. It's not that she hates me. It's that she doesn't know if she's allowed to love me. When the hour ended, Lucy stood without a word. Miles gave me a half hug. I was darting toward Rena for permission. Claire wasn't there. She never was, only a handler from her parental transition team who shepherded the kids back like parcels. I stood in that room long after they left, the scent of Lucy's strawberry shampoo still hanging in the air. And I made a decision. I was going to fight. Not just in court, in public, in paper trails, in phone logs. I was going to build a timeline so detailed, so undeniable, that even Claire's charm and lawyers couldn't twist it. I talked to school counselors, therapists, anyone who would listen. I wasn't going to disappear quietly. Because here's the thing. I may have lost the house, the marriage, the weekends, the birthday parties. But I will not lose my children. Not to silence. Not to lies. Not to a narrative I didn't write. The school says you've never been to a parent-teacher meeting, Claire said, and that's when I knew she'd erased me. I was sitting in the principal's office, hands folded so tightly the knuckles turned white. Mrs. DeLeon, the head administrator at Willow Creek Elementary, glanced between me and the printed attendance sheet like I was some ghost in the system. "I don't understand," I said slowly. "I signed in. October. Twice. I talked to Ms. Holland. We discussed Lucy's reading delay. I even brought snacks." She gave a tight, administrative smile. "According to our records, Ms. Carter is listed as the sole parent of contact. No dual custody documentation is on file." "Because she never turned it in," I said. "We're under joint legal custody. It's in the decree. Right here." I pulled out a folder, battered and yellowed, but still organized. I handed her the stamped court copy. She was supposed to notify all shared institutions. She didn't. Mrs. DeLeon blinked. "Mr. Carter, I'm going to have to escalate this to our district liaison." Claire hadn't just restricted access to my kids. She'd scrubbed me from their official records. No emergency contact status. No newsletters. No access to the online portal for assignments or grades. No school photos, even though I paid for them. She'd rewritten me out of their daily lives with a few unchecked boxes and carefully curated silence. And the system, built to prioritize stability, had let her. That night, I sat in my apartment, too quiet, too clean, with a legal pad in front of me. I made a list, not of grievances, of truths. Dates I was refused visitation without cause. Voicemails Claire left, baiting me into reacting. The birthday invitation I received 2 days after the party had already happened. The email from Lucy's piano teacher, "So sorry you couldn't make the recital." I was building my own case. Not for court. For them. For the day my children would ask, "Why weren't you there?" Because they would. One day. And I needed them to know I was. That I fought. That I documented. That I never, not once, gave up. That's when I found the email. Buried in my spam folder. Subject line, Family Resource Inquiry from Rena Harris. Rena, the visitation supervisor. She'd sent it the night after our last session. I opened it, pulse rising. "Mr. Carter, I hope this message finds you well. I want to be transparent without overstepping. In the past 6 months, I've monitored over 20 parent-child visitation arrangements. Yours is different. Lucy and Miles show deep affection toward you. Their discomfort stems not from fear, but confusion. I can't diagnose family dynamics. But what I can say is that these children are not afraid of you. They are afraid of the tension around you. If you ever require a written statement from a court-certified visitation supervisor, I'd be willing to prepare one. Warmly, Rena. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. It was the first time anyone with authority, had seen through the fog Claire built around me. Not only had she manipulated the system, she'd manipulated them. The school, the therapists, even the court. And now I had a witness. I emailed Rena back that night, thanked her, told her I might take her up on that statement. But as I sat there, staring at my wall of post-its and scribbled timelines, I realized something else. This wasn't just about court orders. It was about legacy. When Lucy and Miles were old enough to read those notes, those statements, those printed emails, they'd see it all. And they'd know that even when I was invisible, I never stopped being their father. You hired a lawyer? Claire hissed, and I said, no. I hired 3. It happened in the parking lot outside Lucy's school. I wasn't even supposed to be there, at least, not according to the communication boundaries Claire had submitted last quarter. But my name was finally added back to the school database, and I'd received a reminder about the Spring Art Showcase. Lucy had a piece in the show, a paper mosaic of a tree that looked suspiciously like the one she used to draw with me. I showed up. Quiet, respectful. Wore a neutral polo. I didn't try to intercept the kids. I didn't bring gifts. I didn't even bring a camera. But the second Claire saw me standing by the juice table, she beelined like a missile. Smile tight, lips barely moving. You're violating the agreement. I held up the school's email. Joint legal custody. Public event. Not a violation. Her eyes narrowed. You're not welcome here, Jack. No, I said, my voice calm but heavy. I'm just not convenient. She didn't reply. Just walked away, the click of her heels stabbing the hallway tile like gunshots. I stood there another 10 minutes, long enough to see Lucy walk past with her class. She didn't wave, but her eyes flicked to mine, just for a second. And she smiled. That was all I needed. The next day, I retained a high-conflict custody attorney and a forensic custody evaluator. And at the suggestion of a quiet but fierce father's rights advocate, a retired family court judge who now served as an expert witness in manipulation-based alienation cases. 3 professionals. 3 different states. All on one mission, to drag truth into a courtroom that usually preferred clean narratives and passive fathers. That same week, I sent Claire formal notice through counsel. We were requesting a custody reevaluation based on willful obstruction, documentation of alienation, and emotional manipulation of minors. Rena's letter was attached. So were the school records, my visitation logs, and yes, even screenshots of ignored texts and emails. Claire didn't take it well. She called me. First time in months. I told you I didn't want this to be a war. You didn't want truth, I said. Now we're getting it, whether you want it or not. There was silence on the other end. Then a breath. Cold, measured. You're going to lose, Jack. Do you know how you sound? Paranoid. Unstable. You're going to ruin whatever relationship you have left with them. That last part, it hit harder than I expected. But I stayed steady. You've already done that for me. Then I hung up. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at old videos on my phone. Lucy dancing to a Taylor Swift song in her pajamas. Miles explaining why dinosaurs would totally beat Transformers in a fight. My voice in the background, laughing. Alive. The next morning, my attorney called. She's filed a counter motion, he said, alleging you're engaging in emotional coercion. She's requesting full legal custody, no visitation. I didn't even flinch, because I knew what that meant. She was scared. For the first time in years, Claire was scared of me. Not the man who signed every check and kept every distance, but the man who finally stopped asking for permission to be a father. He never showed up, Claire said in court, and then my attorney pushed forward the printed log of 15 unanswered emails. There's a smell to courtrooms most people never talk about. It's not justice. It's fear, cloaked in carpet glue and stale coffee. That morning, I sat in Family Court Division 9B. Tight too tight, heart hammering like I was the one on trial. In a way, I was. Across from me sat Claire in her navy sheath dress, flanked by her attorney, Ms. Jillian Pike, a woman whose entire body language screamed precision weapon. Claire's expression was as polished as ever. Poised. Controlled. A portrait of concerned motherhood. And me? I looked like the guy who hadn't slept in 2 years. The judge, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes and a reputation for impartiality, flipped through the thick file before her. We're here to review a petition to reassess custody and visitation terms, based on allegations of willful obstruction and parental alienation. Mr. Carter, your side may begin. My lawyer, Daniel, rose like a man used to fighting uphill. Your Honor, what we're presenting today is not hearsay, not speculation, but evidence. We have logs of scheduled visitations canceled without cause, school records showing the petitioner was removed from all communication channels, and sworn testimony from a court-appointed visitation supervisor stating the children were never fearful of Mr. Carter, only confused. He gestured toward Rena, seated behind us, clutching her folder like it was armor. She gave a single, solemn nod. Claire's lawyer stood. Your Honor, the respondent was attempting to stabilize an emotionally delicate situation. Ms. Carter has acted solely in the children's best interest. Their well-being is paramount. Then came Claire's voice. Clear. Measured. He never showed up for Lucy's fall recital or her winter showcase. He doesn't respond to emails. I've been the sole parent present. That's when Daniel stood again. Calmly placed a printed packet on the table. Exhibit E. 15 emails, all sent by Mr. Carter. Not one reply. Timestamped. Verified. Furthermore, photos from Lucy's recital. Mr. Carter, in the back row. Never introduced. Never acknowledged. I saw Claire's fingers twitch. Just once. The judge looked up. Ms. Carter, did you notify the school of joint legal custody? Claire hesitated. No, Your Honor. I was advised it might confuse communication lines. And the children? The judge asked. Claire softened her voice, leaning into her script. They're sensitive. Lucy especially. Sudden transitions unsettle her. Jack's mood swings made visits difficult. Rena stood. Your Honor, she said, voice steady but emotional. In my professional opinion, Mr. Carter exhibited no signs of instability. He never raised his voice. Never manipulated. The only tension in those sessions came when the children asked why he wasn't in their lives more often, and he couldn't answer without violating court guidelines. Silence. That courtroom, full of echoes and paper shuffles, went still. Then the judge turned to me. Mr. Carter, if given full restoration of visitation, supervised or not, how would you proceed? I looked at her, then at Claire, then down at my trembling hands. I would be there, I said. Every week. Every Tuesday pickup. Every Friday drop-off. Every school play. I'd build whatever stability the court allowed. I'm not asking to replace their mother. I'm asking to stop being erased. The judge leaned back. This court will require further evaluation, but I am authorizing temporary, unsupervised weekend visitation effective immediately. If the children are not made available, contempt proceedings will follow. Claire's mouth opened, just slightly. The control cracked. And I knew. I just won round one. But war? War was still coming. Mom says you only want us back to make her look bad, Lucy whispered, and for a moment, I didn't know how to breathe. She stood just inside the doorway, clutching her purple weekend bag, eyes locked on mine like she was bracing for a verdict. Miles barreled past her, ran straight into my arms, and started talking about a dinosaur book he saw at school. But Lucy? She didn't move. She just stared, waiting. I dropped to one knee, arms open, heart hammering. I don't want to make anyone look bad, I said quietly. I just want my kids to know I'm still their dad. Still, she didn't come closer. I wanted to rush forward, pull her into a hug, tell her I'd never stop fighting for her. But I couldn't. Not anymore. Every move, every word, had to be earned. Do you want to come inside? I asked. She nodded, slowly, and walked past me like a guest in someone else's home. The first night back should have felt like a celebration, a victory lap. Instead, it felt like a funeral for everything we used to have. Lucy didn't touch the spaghetti she used to love. She didn't ask to watch cartoons. She went to bed early without being told. At 9 p.m., I peeked into her room. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the bookshelf I built for her when she was 6. She said, "You don't even like being a dad," Lucy murmured. "That it was always too much for you." "I do like being a dad," I said, sitting beside her. "I like being your dad." "She says you got tired. That's why you stopped coming." I swallowed the burn in my throat. "I never stopped, Lou. I kept calling. I sent emails. I waited at the visitation center even when you didn't show. I'd been here the whole time." She looked up. Her eyes were no longer angry, just tired. "She also said you're angry all the time." "I'm not angry at you," I said. "I've never been angry at you. But, yeah, I've been angry. Because I missed you. Because I didn't understand why I couldn't see you." She didn't reply. I reached for the drawer beside her bed. pulled out something I hadn't touched in a year, her old art folder. "You drew this," I said, pulling out a picture of 3 stick figures under a giant sun. "It's us. Remember?" She nodded slowly. "You used to say our house was the only place the sun looked right." Her lips twitched. Then, quietly, she whispered, "I don't want to pick sides." "You don't have to," I said. "You're not on anyone's side. You're a kid. It's my job to protect you, even from the parts of this fight you'll never see." The next morning, something small happened. She asked if I still had the purple glitter glue. I did. She and Miles spent an hour making new drawings. Of us. Together. The light was still dim. But it was there. And I knew, Claire's words might echo in their ears, but mine would live in their memories. I wasn't here to win a case anymore. I was here to win them back. "If you take them on vacation, I'll report you for kidnapping," Claire warned, and that's when I realized she'd rather ruin them than lose control. It was supposed to be simple. A weekend at the lake house my parents left me, a quiet getaway. Just me, Lucy, and Miles. No lawyers. No court monitors. Just s'mores, fireflies, and maybe, a glimpse of peace. The first vacation since the custody ruling. I cleared it with my attorney. It was well within my rights. Temporary weekend visitation meant I could take the kids anywhere in state. No restrictions. No permission needed. But when I texted Claire to inform her, as a courtesy, her response wasn't just cold. It was nuclear. "You take them out of town, and I swear to God, Jack, I'll file an emergency order. You'll never see them again." No negotiation. No concern for what the kids wanted. Just war. My hands shook as I read it. Not out of fear, but fury. Because Miles had already packed. Lucy had drawn a map of the lake trail from memory. They were excited. I showed the message to Daniel, my lawyer. He nodded grimly. "She has no legal ground, but she might still file and tie you up in court for months. Judges don't like middle-of-the-road parents taking liberties. You'd probably win. But the damage? To the kids." He didn't finish the sentence. That night, I sat on the couch while Lucy brushed her hair and Miles packed his rubber ducky into a Ziploc bag. And I made a decision. "Hey," I said gently, change of plans. "We're gonna do a backyard campout instead. Marshmallows, sleeping bags, movie on the projector. Still fun, right?" Lucy's face fell. "But the lake." "I know. Is it because of Mom?" I hesitated. "It's because I don't want anyone to mess up our time together. Not even her." Lucy didn't argue. She just nodded, climbed into her sleeping bag next to Miles, and said, "I wish this was normal." Those 4 words. They haunted me. Because it should be normal. A dad taking his kids to a lake house shouldn't require court clearance or emotional gymnastics. But in Claire's world, normal was whatever she controlled. And anything outside her reach was dangerous. The next morning, I found a manila envelope on my doorstep. No return address. Inside was a flash drive. And a note. "You need to see this." At first, I thought it was from my attorney. But when I plugged it in, I froze. It was video. Grainy. Recorded secretly. A conversation. Between Claire and someone I couldn't see. Her voice, unmistakable. "Jack's building a case. I can feel it. He's too calm. Too clean. I need something. Something that makes him look unfit." A pause. "Don't tell me what's legal. I don't care. If I can make Lucy say he scares her, even once, I can drag this into a full custody modification." My breath caught. The rest of the clip was mostly static. But that voice. That plan. She wasn't just keeping my kids. She was weaponizing them. I called Daniel. Sent him the video. He didn't say much. Just, "It's game over now. We go to court. And this time, we don't ask for visitation. We ask for everything. Your daughter says she's scared of you," the opposing attorney said, so I pressed play on the recording and let Claire destroy herself. The courtroom was packed tighter than ever. Even the bailiff looked uneasy, sensing the tension that clung to every word like static electricity before a storm. Claire sat in her usual perfection, hands folded, lips tight, her attorney whispering rapid fire as the judge looked over the files. This wasn't just a hearing anymore. It was a reckoning. I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Because this time, I had the one thing she couldn't twist, drown, or bury beneath charm. Proof. Daniel stood first. "Your Honor, the petitioner has submitted a recording. The authenticity has been verified by a forensic audio analyst, and the voice has been identified as the respondent, Ms. Claire Carter." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Proceed." He tapped his laptop. The room went still. And then Claire's voice filled the speakers. Jack's building a case. I can feel it. If I can make Lucy say he scares her, even once, I can drag this into a full custody modification. Claire's expression didn't change, not at first. But her shoulders pulled back, her nostrils flared. The audio kept playing. Clear. Undeniable. When it ended, the silence in the courtroom was absolute. Even the judge didn't speak for a full 10 seconds. Then she turned to Claire's attorney. Do you have a response? Claire leaned forward. That was private. It's out of context. You were strategizing how to manipulate a minor to falsely testify against her father. The judge cut in sharply. This goes far beyond miscommunication. Claire's lawyer tried to pivot. Objection. Privacy. But the damage was done. They'd pulled a pin from the grenade, and now they were standing in the blast radius. Then the judge looked at me. Mr. Carter, do you still seek shared custody? I took a breath and said the one thing I never thought I would. No. Gasps. Even Daniel turned, shocked. I'm not seeking shared custody, I said, standing. I'm seeking full custody, sole legal and physical, because my kids deserve peace. And Claire, I looked at her, for the first time without fear. Claire's made it clear. She doesn't want a co-parent. She wants to win. The judge didn't respond right away. She just nodded. Motion taken under advisement. Court will reconvene in 72 hours with a final ruling. Claire's mask cracked. For a split second, I saw it. Not rage, but fear. The fear of losing the one thing she never thought I'd have the strength to take back. Control. Can I come back home with you, Daddy? Lucy asked, and suddenly, no ruling mattered more than that. 3 days. 72 hours of pacing, preparing, praying I hadn't just made the biggest mistake of my life. I hadn't told the kids about the motion. I wasn't going to drag them through my courtroom war zone. But they knew something was happening. Lucy watched me like she was waiting for an explosion. Miles stayed close, unusually quiet, as if he thought his silence might keep the walls from cracking again. And then, finally, court resumed. Same judge. Same brittle tension. Claire sat stiff in her chair, her eyes rimmed with sleepless mascara. She hadn't spoken to me since the last hearing. Not a glance. Not a whisper. Her attorney wore that exhausted lawyer's look, like she'd already begun preparing the appeal. The judge took her seat and adjusted her glasses. After reviewing all submitted evidence, testimony, and documentation, and given the verified recording suggesting malicious manipulation of minor children, this court finds cause for immediate custody modification. Claire inhaled sharply. So did I? The petitioner, Mr. Carter, is granted sole physical custody and temporary sole legal custody, pending further review. The court will arrange a transitional support plan for the children, supervised reunification counseling with the respondent, and an evaluation in 90 days. Daniel gripped my shoulder. Claire's attorney objected. The judge banged her gavel once. Case closed. But I didn't feel like cheering. Because as much as I wanted to win, what I really wanted was them. That afternoon, I waited outside the school, nerves chewing me from the inside out. When the bell rang and the kids came out, Lucy saw me first. She didn't smile. Not right away. She walked up slow, like she was approaching a stranger she used to know. Then she looked up and asked, Can I come back home with you, Daddy? I nodded, voice cracking. Yeah, baby. You're coming home. She didn't cry. She just reached out, took my hand, and held on tight. Later, in the car, she asked, Is Mommy mad? I paused. Mom's confused right now, but that's not your job to fix. She stared out the window. She told me you'd leave again. I won't, I said. Not unless you ask me to. That night, she asked if I'd sit beside her bed. I stayed until she fell asleep. Then I watched her breathe, like it was the first breath I'd taken in years. She wants to see you, Claire said quietly, and for the first time in years, there was no edge in her voice. It had been 5 weeks since the ruling. 5 weeks of packed lunches, bedtime stories, and healing in quiet moments that didn't look like justice, but felt like it. Lucy had begun humming again while drawing. Miles had stopped flinching when my phone rang. We were learning to be a family, not perfectly, not instantly, but honestly. Then, that Thursday, my phone buzzed. A number I hadn't seen in a while. I didn't answer at first, just stared at it. When I finally picked up, Claire's voice was different. Soft. Not performative, just tired. Lucy's teacher called me, she said. She told me about the painting she made. I knew the one. It was hanging on our fridge. A house with 2 windows, a yellow sun, and 3 smiling figures in front, one of them holding a fox plush. She wants to see you, Claire repeated. My chest tightened. Why? Claire was quiet for a long time. Because I think she's finally seeing who I was, she said. And who you've always been. I waited. No accusations. No rehearsed monologue. Just silence. Then she added, can I come by? Not to argue. Just to talk. With her. With you. Maybe start over. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just said, if Lucy wants that, we'll make space. When Claire arrived that weekend, Lucy ran to me first. But after a pause, she walked slowly to her mother. Claire knelt. They didn't speak. They just hugged. Then Lucy looked at me and said, can Mommy stay for dinner? I looked at Claire. She didn't expect it either. But she nodded, quietly. That night, we ate spaghetti, the one meal Lucy remembered I used to make. Miles showed Claire the new dinosaur posters. Lucy told her about the lake trip we were planning. Claire didn't say much. But she listened. Really listened. When she left, she turned to me at the door. I don't know how to undo what I did, she said. But if you're willing, maybe we can do better. I didn't promise her anything, but I nodded. And that night, Lucy fell asleep in her bed, arms wrapped around that old stuffed fox. Miles snored on the bunk above, and I stood in the hallway, staring at their closed door. Not to check, not to guard, but because for the first time in forever, they were home, and so was I.